Welcome to some short videos on how to work with the Infineon PSoC 6 AI Evaluation Kit and the Deep Craft Studio, um, model building machine learning toolkit. So this will allow us to use the PSoC 6 to gather data. And then later, it will allow us to use the PSoC 6 to actually load models so that we can actually run our machine learning models right on right on the hardware. This is often called tiny machine learning because the models are actually going to exist in this much smaller processor at the edge, not in the cloud. So this is the board. It's a fairly small board, and it has two USB-C connectors. We're going to have to make sure we understand what those are used for through this process. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the streaming firmware, that is, we're going to load a set of code onto the PSoC 6 AI evaluation kit that will allow us access to its various sensors. And to do that, you're going to go to this web page, and you're going to go down and get the streaming code here. So that actually is going to come as a zip file. And let's go ahead and look at that. So it comes as a zip file that I now have unzipped to this directory, and this is a hex file. This will completely replace any firmware we have on the device. Now, we're going to use a special tool to download this. It is the Modbus Toolbox Programmer. So to do that, that's this toolkit right here. By the way, to download all the toolkits, you can grab the Modbus tool setup. That's the toolbox setup utility is this one. And it will allow you to select a number of different tools that we're going to use through this process. So we're going to want to get the Deep Craft Studio, the tools package, the Eclipse IDE for the Modbus Toolbox, and you're going to also want to get the programming tools. So you're going to get all of these, this set of tools. When you've selected them with the check marks, go ahead and hit next, and that will install all of these tools on your device. I already have them installed, so I'm going to go over here and grab this, which is a programmer that's going to allow me to directly take this hex file, this firmware file, and put it over to my device. However, I need to make sure that the right USB port is plugged in. So I'm going to plug it into the USB port that's furthest away from the white power connector. So that will look like this. So this is a programming port. It's going to allow us to program our device, whether it's using this tool or the Eclipse tool. The other port is our data port. And when we're set up to actually look at or use data from the device, we're going to use that port. So once I plugged it into that port, I should see something that looks like this. I'm going to select this programmer, which is the only one. I'm going to go ahead and select this device because this is the device we're using. I'm going to go ahead and hit connect, and that's going to connect to my device. And then here I'm going to select a very specific firmware. This is the streaming firmware I just talked about. And then when everything is all set up, I'm going to hit program, and that's going to program the device. I'm not going to do that now because I just did that, and it works. It's all been programmed. Notice it goes all the way to the bottom. It says, yep, you have gotten code onto your device. Now I want to use that device in the Deep Craft Studio world to actually take some data. So I'm going to disconnect that USB port, and I'm going to connect it to the USB port closer to the white power connector. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my DeepCraft Studio. And it's going to look something like this. Now, I've got lots of different kinds of files already in this world because I've been using it for some time. What's important, however, and in some of the videos, the older version of the DeepCraft Studio shows you selecting items over in this location when actually they're here in the Node Explorer. So the Node Explorer has all kinds of different tools that we can use to collect data. So I have my first project. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. This is the built-in microphone. It's not hooked up. It's not set up. What I want to do is use the microphone from my board. By the way, I've double-clicked on the board and gotten that. So I can go ahead and grab this now and bring it over into my world. And I'm going to delete this device. And I'm going to select this device. And now I can take my microphone data and send it into this. Now, we would like to record some data. Maybe we're going to do some keyword searches. So up here, I'm going to click on the play button. That's going to pile that blueprint into some code that can be executed. And then when I select the record button, hello, hello, up, down. So you can see I can collect my data right here using my device. Now later in the videos, we're going to use this same device. We're going to actually use the data. We're going to train our models. We're going to create models that we can then turn into C code, a .h and a .c file that we can then compile in the Eclipse IDE to download to our device. But what's important is make sure that you have that firmware built and downloaded to your device not through the Eclipse interface, but through the DirectBoard interface. Keep that file around because if you ever want to get back to accessing the individual sensors, you'll need that. Oh, one other thing I should show you: tools, options, general. Make sure if you're going to use that, you've got the Use Node Explorer with Protocol version 2 selected. That's the one that's compatible with the firmware that's going to allow you to gather that data.